Welcome to Home and Away, a Tottenham Hotspur podcast hosted by myself, Graham Spice, and Glen Cowie, where we discuss all things Tottenham Hotspur with both a match attending and international supporters view. This week's episode will take a look back at a painful North London derby with guests Richard Stafford and Hamish Girvan from New Zealand Spurs Supporters. A lot to get through, so let's get into it.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day.
Glenn, are you good?
I was good until I watched the North London derby. I was very good. I had a pretty good weekend, actually. I did a scout camp, which is a lot of work, but it's quite rewarding. And the weather was glorious. It was like 32 degrees. The scouts, it was nice to see them achieve some stuff. So, yeah, I was good. And then I decided to watch the North London derby on delay. I think I was about an hour and a half behind live because it kicked off at 3:30 in the morning for me.
I should have just messaged you and said, don't bother, shouldn't I?
No,
at that point. By that stage, it was already done.
It's always hard for my wife because she knows the score usually, because then she always knows then how I feel. So she knew going in but then she also looks and she goes, I could tell you, but I think you need to watch it for your podcast and you need to enjoy the pain. I'm like, yeah, you're probably right. So yeah, not to answer your question, mate. I'm okay. I was a lot better, and then Spurs happened. How are you, Graham? Are you well, mate?
The only positive I can take out the weekend is that it was the last game of the weekend, so I didn't spoil my entire weekend, just the end of it. I'm good. I'm all right. I went out the weekend. Saturday, went into London. I had a cheese meal on a barge in Paddington with my daughter. It was a Christmas present I got.
Cheese? Like cheese fondue?
Well, we're both really big. We both like cheese, and basically they had a completely cheese themed. So we had like cheese curds, and then a cheese board with like a selection of cheeses, and basically just sat there and ate cheese. It was very nice.
You'll be well now. The next first game you go to, mate, you can go to the cheese room. I'm surprised you haven't been there yet.
It's a floating cheese room. It's a barge moored on the Union Canal outside Paddington.
Indeed.
Cool,
well, our cheese room, anything attached to Spurs at the moment is bloody sinking, isn't it? Because what a shit show that was. But maybe before we get into that, for our viewers and listeners, we have Richard rejoining us. But Hamish, welcome, mate. Really good to have you on. We always like to ask why Spurs. I didn't get a choice. I don't think Graham got a choice. Richard, similar. But why Spurs for you, mate? Is it something that they found you found them? Have you been to a game? Any memories? But over to you, Hamish. It'll be good to know your story on why you support Tottenham.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for the invite. Yeah, I guess back in the mid-80s, there wasn't any Premier League live, or there wasn't the Premier League there, but First Division coverage here. There was a program called The Big Match, which was on a Sunday at lunchtime that Brian Moore ran, which was a delay from the weekend before. I used to being a rugby fan as well, but it was on and I used to watch it. And Glenn Hoddle was in the Spurs team there, and I quite liked the look of the white shirts and his style of play. And he scored some spectacular goals. And I thought, this is a team I'll sort of follow. But it was very casual. Then I moved to London in the early 90s, and I did the first game I went to was a Spurs game.
Do you remember who it was against?
Yeah, it was against Liverpool, and Spurs actually beat Liverpool, and I think Liverpool won the league that year. It was Paul Stewart scored. I remember that. So and I was in my sort of early 20s then, and from then I just carried on and stayed on in London for 5 years, and actually by sheer fluke got a marketing job with Holston Pills.
Oh,
who were the sponsor of Spurs.
Yeah.
It was just a sheer fluke. So I ended up in my last year in London actually hosting customers in the Holston Pills box.
How good.
And the sad thing is a lot of the customers that used to come were not fans of whoever Spurs were playing that day. I remember a Sunderland fan being there, and I think we were playing Leeds or something. It was cool. And I used to have access to the sort of the sponsors lounge afterwards, and sometimes the players used to come in. I wasn't rushing up getting autographs and that, because I sort of had a suit and tie on in those days, sort of helping host.
Yeah.
But yeah, so since then, and then I've been back in New Zealand, had a stint in the States, just been following the Premier League ever since religiously.
Much easier now than it ever used to be, right? It's a truly global game now.
Well, like Richard, we covered this when he was on for the first time your time difference, I mean, it's just after 10 a.m. there. So you're like a full, 13 hours ahead. So I guess the North London Derby kickoff for you would have been 3 a.m. So it's negligible, just an early start.
Yeah, that's actually a good time, I think. I've got a job. I usually head into work about sort of 20 past 7 in the mornings anyway. So it was actually not bad timing. It's PM kickoffs in the UK. There are bits of killers. They're 4 o'clock. Or
they don't happen that often anymore, really, do you?
1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, Champions League, I guess you're laughing, right? Because this week I've got 7 a.m. Thursday morning. You've got 9 a.m. So, yeah.
Well, 9 a.m. you just have to take a half day off work.
Well, much like Richard's T-shirt there, which I need to get a copy of. Do you see that, Graham? 4 a.m. kickoff, call the boss, I'm not going to work. I might need to get one.
I like that.
Close to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I've done many Teams calls with the game, like the pre-season matches, which were obviously in Asia. I had the football on one side, and I cannot contain myself when we score, so I look like a prize prick on most of those conference calls. But yeah, I understand it. It's weird though about the changes in the coverage of European football, because I remember in '96 I was in the States on a holiday for the Euros, which were in London, so that didn't go well. It was interesting, but I was the only way I could find the score short of phoning home, which was expensive, was I got newspapers 2 days after the game. There was no coverage whatsoever. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Really well.
I know. It's so. I think for one game I actually phoned my brother-in-law and he put the phone next to the television. But I think it was the Holland game, and then we were just walking through Carmel, which is where Clint Eastwood was mayor, and we just walked up from the beach. We walked into a bar to get a drink, and at the end of the bar was a big screen, and I just walked in to watch Shearer score against Germany in the semi-final. And so how the hell that was on TV there, I have no idea. But yeah, we ended up watching all of that.
We bleat and moan, and with Just Cause, I think, with all the different streaming providers having subscription models that you have to pay up to. But, we're in little old New Zealand, 12,500 miles away from where a game's being played. And apart from a delay of, 15, 30 seconds, we get everything everyone else gets. And of course, the 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon game.
And more, yeah. And more.
And I go back to your trip to Vietnam the other week. In deepest, darkest Vietnam, and I would say deepest, darkest Peru even, you probably could pick up a satellite feed and watch a Premier League game. I mean, most of us here object to having to pay 3, 4, 5 different subscriptions to watch Spurs play every game. And so we pick up the odd Uki stream, and some of them are quite reliable, and some of them just show you things you shouldn't be looking at. But you get to see every game, and you get to see everything almost near real time. So going back to Hamish's point, I've got many friends who say they support Man United or Liverpool or whoever because they were the first teams we saw the week after they played the game when they won.
Yeah.
Things like that.
There was a quite limited cup. I think Hamish, you mentioned about like the big match, that they were really selective about who they showed. So it was, they didn't, if you were a lowly team at the bottom of the league, you didn't get any television time at all. So I guess we were fairly flamboyant as a team around that area. So we probably got quite a lot more TV than we deserved from the results we had.
But even like, it's changed a lot in England, right, Graham, in terms of, and I'm right
awful.
But I'm on the cusp of remembering FA Cup final day, Spurs, Nottingham Forest, 91, last we won it, which is pitiful. But I remember that, the coverage starting at 9 a.m. and it would start at the team's hotel, breakfast. It was great, but that's what,
They'd have a helicopter tracking the buses on the way to the stadium, wouldn't they?
But that's all gone now, right? FA Cup final, what's an hour of build-up?
But it's worse than that even. I mean, the cost to watch all the games here, and remembering that you can't watch all the games here. You can't watch the 3 p.m. kickoffs. And some games are just not televised at all for some reason. You need a Sky subscription. You need a TNT Sports subscription. At the moment,
Amazon.
Some of the Champions League matches are on Amazon as well. Yeah, so That's the 3 services, and that I don't know what and work it out. It's a lot of money. It's probably nearly as much as my season ticket over a year.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, we're deflecting as much as we possibly can, but we've got to talk about it.
How about that weather?
As I mentioned, I watched the game on delay by about an hour and a half. I didn't really understand the setup. I didn't understand why Porro wasn't in the team if you're trying to play wing backs. I didn't understand why you wouldn't include Sarr. Maybe he was coming back from injury, or Bergvall. I guess he had concussion, for a bit of energy and a bit of ball carrying in the middle of the park. Aside from Richarlison channeling his inner Scotland with a halfway line goal, I mean, it was just abysmal. Again, it was the Chelsea all over the place, all over again, right? In terms of just creating nothing, fending for our lives in a way. I didn't get it. I didn't get it. And even once he changed it, second half, they scored within a few seconds.
30 seconds, yeah.
And the Eze hat-trick goal, I don't know if you guys have seen this footage, it came from our throw-in in their final third. We're in their final third, and Spencer's gone the other way. What? No one wanted the ball. But Richard, I'll pick you first, mate. What did you make of this? No.
Well, look, there's a couple of things. I listened to an interview that Thomas Frank did and said, blame me. But he said we wanted to play the way we did against PSG, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so you didn't really want to score. And more importantly, as I say, the playing of the 3 centre backs and 2 wing backs, you'd pick a different combination, but you can't even see where a ball going forward's going to be, right? You go to the midfield. I don't mind Sarr, but I would have picked Bergvall above Bentancur, because I thought Bentancur was pretty awful. And Spence had a real shitter. I don't know what Spence is doing at the moment. His head's all over the place. His body language looks wrong. His touch is all wrong. He always seems to be languid and behind where the play is. I was really disappointed with Spence. I was really disappointed with Van der Ven as well. Yep. Van der Ven made a couple of interventions, but he's just standing around looking as though he's reading the fucking paper. And I don't like that. And the 3 goals that Eze scored, if you have a look at where he gets the ball, there's a pocket in front of the back, in this case, the back 5, where the midfield haven't joined and try to take a man out. And he's got a second or a second and a half to pick his foot, pick where he's going to kick the ball and get the shot away. His backlift is really quite short, right? So
yeah, all the goals were like that, weren't they?
Well, but Trossard's first goal, they tried that little flick over the top before. So it wasn't like there wasn't a warning, because Rice had the shot, and it was like, what the fuck?
I actually thought, and all fair play, I'm not a Trossard fan. I think he's got a face only a mum could love, and he looks as though he needs about 5 weeks sleep, doesn't he, at the best of times. I thought that was a bloody good goal, actually.
Oh, yeah, it was. It was a great finish, yeah.
But, if you have a look at that one coming about, Danso leaves his man, no one takes the runner, and effectively he gets a free turn on the penalty spot almost. And that's crazy. You don't do that in the Premier League. And our 2 centre-backs were just stood like statues.
Yeah.
The bit that gets me, and I wrote about it in one of the newsletters last week, is there's no passion, there's no anger, there's no forward play, there's no urgency, there's no emotion, there's no
They're always disappointed after
happen.
They always seem to be really disappointed with themselves after the match. But the only time to do something about it is before the match. It's a bit late, isn't it? Frank tells us what they were trying to do, but I saw none of what he said they were trying to do. They didn't do any of it.
Wow. Yeah.
And we played effectively 7 defensive players, and we never got the ball to the other 3 players. You could count the number of times we probably got into their half on one hand, and even the goal didn't come from their half. It was just pitiful, really poor.
Savvy made a difference when he came on.
Yeah, because all of a sudden you got something to connect them back to the front, and I think there was just nothing. They had more people than us in midfield, and we just never broke through them.
Yeah,
didn't even look like we were going to at no point in the match.
Hamish is nodding away there, but I'm keen to get your view, mate. Come in here and rant, yell, scream. Give us your overview.
Get it off your chest.
Maybe you saw it differently than us, Hamish. I don't know.
Not at all. But I'll go on a bit of diatribe here. We finished 17th last year. Rich will be used to my views on this. I'm not sure why we expect to be top 6. I'm really serious. We finished 17th. If we finish 10th this season, I actually think that's a result. Not many teams go from 17th and finish in the top 4, 6, even 10 a lot of the time. And that's how far we've regressed. I don't think we have the players that are going to get into the top 4. I just think that's unrealistic. And I think finishing 17th is sobering, but it was probably, you can blame Ange, but it's just the quality of the players we have in some ways. So that's one thing. The result, although disappointing, and I understand the passion not being there, I'll talk about that in a sec. Van der Ven, I thought, had a really poor game, and I think as Spurs fans, we're all bought into Van der Ven as being this, wow, we've got a superstar on our hands. He was, I no disrespect, no one really knew him before he joined us. And all of a sudden, we think, oh, this guy's worth millions. Because I think, Rich, what we were talking last week, how much salary he's on? He's not on a huge amount of money, 50 grand a week.
Yeah, that's it.
And everyone's going, oh, we need to get him on. Well, do we? Like, is he worth more? He's had a few good games over the last few seasons, but, if a bigger club comes in...
We're still leaky like a sieve, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. And
even with our first choice defence, we still can't kick the ball out.
Yeah.
He has something that will always get awry and a view is he's got pace.
Yeah.
Right?
But usually that's to cover up for mistakes that we've made, of which we make too many.
Yeah. We cannot play from the back. Just like yesterday was a classic example. I think if we strung 3 or 4 passes together from the back before we lost the ball, that was about it. I don't know why. Well, it's not just Spurs. I think a lot of teams, we can't play from the back. So I think Frank has to work on something completely different for that. It's just, yesterday was atrocious. So I just thought every time we got the ball, I don't think we got into their half for ages during that game at some stages.
We didn't. Well, did we test Raya? Do I remember a save? No.
Not in the first half. Nothing in the first half.
Well, I think the other thing that we haven't really mentioned yet is that was a North London derby. Yep. That wasn't just us playing Arsenal. That was a North London derby. There was absolutely bollocks all passion or, pride or, making progress. So I agree with Hamish. Hamish and I got slightly different views, but we 9 times out of 10 agree. I think we're flattering to deceive at the moment. And all this bravado at the beginning of the season where we think, Thomas Frank's the saviour, I don't know what he's doing. I really don't know quite what he's doing, right? And the thing with Thomas Frank, which was different from Ange, and there's a lot of those issues, is that Thomas Frank talks too much. He tries and explains everything, like his logic and his methodology around what he's going to do, what we're trying to do. And I'm a little bit tired of hearing his words and not seeing any actions, to your point before, Glenn, right? And for me, I want to see a leader on the pitch, because I don't think Romero is cutting it at the moment, right? And I would rather see someone come in and play. And actually, I think someone who's got that temperament is Girvan.
Yeah.
And I would just like to see him, and I'm not going to do tactics, right? But I'd just like to see him sit right in the middle and just
do number 8.
Yeah, just like, the old Pac-Man maneuver thing. Just do this. 20 yards, right? No more than that. Pick the ball up and join the back to the front, or join the side to the other side.
And it's not for one moment comparing the two, because I don't think you can, but it's similar job to what Gascoigne used to do in a team, as well as that incredible brilliance he had. He would do that. He would sit and it'd be 20 yards, he'd be in the middle, and exactly. It's that type of a role that we need, a proper central midfielder who can join attack, who can tackle, a true number 8 is what it is.
Yeah. But Rich, you brought up like the North London derby passion. I'll be honest, do they care? Do the players care? I was in the UK for all of September and went to a couple of Spurs games, caught up with I've got some friends that are sort of involved with the media. One of them brought up a really good point. He said the Premier League players today, and he brought up Brennan Johnson as an example, is earning like 40 or 50k a week. They won't have to work again for the rest of their lives. They'll, on a 5-year contract, he'll end up collecting Rolex watches. And this guy was a Man United fan. He said, Luke Shaw comes across in the media really sorry about the loss, blah, blah, blah. 10 minutes later, he won't care. He's in his Range Rover off to his mansion in Cheshire and forgotten about it, playing PlayStation with his kids or his mates. I honestly don't think there's many Spurs players that London derby meant a lot, or North London derby meant.
It's a fair point, right? When I compare, just to be clear, I have less. I look at the starting 11. We had one Englishman, and I'm not going to start banging the drum of this patriotic. There are English players in the squad that maybe aren't fit and they would have played. But the point you're making is, if I look at the Arsenal team, Eze, Arsenal youth product, Saka, Arsenal youth product, Rice, English,
Skelly,
we understand.
Ben
you look
White.
at Arms, you go through that team, arguably, if I was to pick a player out of our 11 that started, I'd say only Romero would maybe fall into the category of getting it. Maybe Van der Ven, they played them enough. But it's a fair point, Hamish. Like, what do we have in that? If you look at the spine or the team as a collective, who's in that team, that squad, that gets it?
I heard Darren Bent previewing the game. I actually didn't realise he's a Gooner fan.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you've never put up with him on TalkSport, very much a Gooner.
I didn't know that. And he sort of said, when it comes to these games, I used to play for Spurs and never played for Arsenal, but it's Arsenal first. And I thought, wow, that's interesting. It's just, I just wonder how many of them actually get the whole derby thing. Back to the Gooners and their team, these guys, when I was in the UK, were saying that the Arsenal team have got a real dressing room culture, and it's all driven out of the dressing room. Kind of, he's the manager, but they've created this culture that they compared to Keane at Man United. That's the culture.
So they manage themselves.
You can see that with Gabriel and that they're passionate. Like Gabriel, if we'd won that, I honestly wonder how much passion our subs would have had on the sideline punching the air like that. I think that's the difference with Arsenal. They've got this culture of the toughness, and they've got this dressing room. They've been together for so long. I think
there's a few things about Arsenal, right? Is that they are 6 years into a manager who's had stability and he's had a shit ton of money to spend. And whenever they bought players, they haven't compromised like we have. They've always gone for their first choice player and paid the money, whatever was necessary to get the player they wanted. So they paid 100 million for Rice, and they've paid big money for other players, which we've always shied away from. We'll always get the next nearest, and you can see that in the difference on the pitch a lot of the time. Sometimes we get lucky, right? And it is luck, I think, because we're buying players with a high ceiling and hoping that they fulfill it, and that doesn't always happen. And also, we're on in that 6 year period. We're on our fourth or fifth manager, maybe
it's
not
more
that
than
many.
That. Out Ryan Mason,
and Stellini into the mix. So it's
8.
Complete lack of stability, and also really poor transfer business, I would say, over the last 6 years as well. Because and it doesn't help that you obviously had the change in managers, because they all want different types of players, and so you end up with a squad of players that don't fit square pegs round holes. But what worries me, I think, about the game, and we talked about who didn't do what during the game, but two things that stood out to me. I'm not sure if it's mentality or if it's tactics or a mixture of the two things. But I don't think they're doing what Frank is asking them to do. I can't believe that that's what he wanted them to do. And he almost said as much in the interview after the match.
Yeah.
We wanted to do this and we wanted to do that, but none of them did any of it. It wasn't like they did it, tried it and it failed. They just didn't do it.
That's a problem in itself.
Exactly. So I'm wondering, are they listening to him or are they incapable of doing it? And neither of those bode well for Frank, right? And we've got a tough run of games coming up.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Richard, please. After
Sorry,
you.
just to back Hamish up, I think our transfer policy, and to your point exactly, Graham, it's like a make, do and mend. We've had a policy in the distant past where the ultimate signing of the contract has been via Daniel Levy. Now, you can't keep blaming Daniel Levy forever, but the legacy of what players are in the squad at the moment has been down to him. And ultimately, I just don't think our players are good enough. And to your point, Arsenal have gone out and got their number one choice. Secondly, when their number one choice has been achieved, they've gone out and got the second choice as well. You have a look at Zubamendi, right? So, I mean,
the squad depth,
and their centre backs, pairings.
Ben White can't get a game, and he'd walk in.
Yeah, I know, and quite right too, because he's a stroppy git.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we've got to have that mentality, and your point's valid about it's taken 6 years to mature all of that. But I don't think Spurs fans are prepared to put up with the shit in between times, right? Which is going back to, we can forgive if you've got passion and you show some wherewithal to try and win games. But when you just give up and don't do as the manager says, you're rightfully going to get all the criticism from all the fans who want to see either, some progress towards a cup going through in a round, or at least some trying. And there was no trying in any of that yesterday.
It's like sorry, go on, go ahead.
So I was just going to say, Odebert was a good example. Odebert gave the ball away yesterday when he was surrounded by 4 Arsenal players by trying to dribble his way out.
Yeah.
Right? And he loses the ball in the midfield. Right, it was out on the wing. But for God's sake, use the top 2 inches and kick the ball down the line. At least make them go and work for the ball.
Javi did similar in the middle of the park when he came on as well. Just going back to your point, Graeme, on recruitment, and apparently we're being told this new era, we've got money to spend, we're going to do things differently. Then in January, Semenyo has a release clause, right? Excuse my French, but go and fucking pay it and some. Like, go and pay 10 million extra, because Chelsea, Arsenal and other clubs have been behaving like that for years, right? Go and get the player we need, because we need a left-sided player who is competent, strong, and is ready-made.
And a goal threat.
And a goal threat. Go and get him. Just go and get it done. I don't want to hear, but he might not come because Bournemouth are punching a... We're a bigger club than Bournemouth, right? Any Bournemouth fan want to come on here and have a chat with me about that, that's fine. I think you're doing well, but we're a far bigger club than Bournemouth. Go and get him. Go and act like it. Go and pay the money. Go and do it. It's just so frustrating.
My one other thing, and that lengthy diatribe about whether it's mental or tactics was just the first one. The second one was, is Romero our club captain? Because if he is, why wasn't he the one who came out and did the interviews after the match? Why was it Vicario? Why was Vicario thrown under the bus after that match?
Where the
fuck was the captain?
I find this whole, and it was similar under Ange, in fact, this whole leadership team.
There's not a single leader amongst them. Not one.
Captain. And can you imagine Gary Mabber having this leadership team thrown around him, rammed down his throat, and then, no, poor performances or good performances, Gary Mabber was the captain, right? Back in the day. I agree with you, mate. It's an absolute shocker.
It's like last year under Ange, Tal was thrown under the bus a few times in front of the media. He was on loan. He was the one that, I can't remember what game it was, where he was arguing with the fans and stuff.
I remember that,
But why did Ange have him in the spotlight? He wasn't even he was on loan. He's only like 19. Yeah. It's just...
And the club completely fed them all to the wolves, though, didn't they? The club did nothing to protect them. Nothing.
Back to what Rich was saying, how long are we going to blame Levy? Because I had this awful feeling that we as Spurs fans will blame him for failures for the next 2 or 3 years.
As far as I'm concerned,
justice in that.
He's gone. Yeah. So we will live or die by the decisions we make from the 1st of January. I'm hoping
is, on that, who hired Frank? Who made the decision? Because it's all a bit muddy, isn't it?
Langer.
Did Levy have an influence? He was still
probably, He probably had to sign it off.
So then you start to go the other way on this, and you put in, to me, Graeme, a direct chat last night. PSG lost, Fulham draw, Newcastle lost, Brentford draw, Prague win, Forest lost, Liverpool lost, Palace lost. If that goes the way it goes, and if you look at form, you wouldn't be surprised to see that happen. And I'm not for one moment saying Frank out or anything like that, but I'm just putting it in the room. Who hired him? And is that going to be their get out? Well, it wasn't our hire anyway. The results aren't going well. Piss off. And they get their man in.
And we start all over again.
Yeah, we start all over again. But the reason I put it in the room is, did the current hierarchy hire him? Did they all sign off? We've had some changes, right? We've had people move on. So do we get to January with those results, if that's how it plays out? And do they use that as a get out and say, well, he wasn't our hire anyway? They would never say that.
Was Levy the only one making decisions at the club? A $1 billion business of a club?
I can't believe that's the case.
I think he's I'm putting it in the room because we're just saying, how long are we going to blame Levy? So then will the club, off the basis of their decisions moving forward,
they will blame him. They will blame him. He's their scapegoat, and he has been.
Sure.
That's why they talk about it like it's a new thing rather than.
Sure.
They basically replaced an employee. That's what they've done.
But then does Frank become?
It's just like
the no difference to lamb in this. Is it Thomas Frank in a few weeks, months' time, where the results have come well?
Getting rid of Levy is no different to changing the manager. He's just another employee of the club.
Sure.
I hope they don't get... I think Frank needs 3 years, honestly.
I don't disagree with you, Hamish. I think it'd be madness to make a change, but I'm just thinking in my ways of how could they justify doing it? Well, it wasn't our hire, so we're going to get our man in now.
Yeah.
Well, what I
think-
heard yesterday, they're blaming Levy for Izzy not coming. Apparently, Levy was
He was
doing...
never coming. He was always going there.
I know he was, but they're saying, Levy tried to put in clauses about Champions League and all this sort of stuff, and whereas Arsenal just went and paid the money. Well,
He probably did, right? There's probably truth to that, but I think we were just fully played by a player that wanted to go back to his boyhood club. But sorry, Richard, you're going to come in there, mate.
Yeah, so the thing about Frank's quite interesting, right? So if you have a look at the hierarchy in the club, you got the owners, you got the shareholders, and then you got the recruitment guys, and then you got the manager, right? So if we take the Levy and above out of the equation, we can only make changes 2 times a year, and that's in the windows. And the windows are in January and after June, right? In between that, we can't do anything. So that then means the onus is back on the manager to manage what he's got during that period of time, right? So here's the thing. What style of football is Thomas Frank trying to play? And if we go back to your point, Glenn, around, perhaps the players not doing, or Graeme, I can't remember who said it, but the players not executing what Frank has put out there.
Tanking, yeah.
Then what do you do? What do you do? And it's down to the management of those players. So I think the manager has got to earn his spurs, and that kind of falls into the argument that Hamish has put in forward. How much progress is realistic for this season from 17th, right? And I think somewhere around between 10th and 8th or something would be a major. But that doesn't mean, and it's not an excuse, and it doesn't mean that we don't try to get better, right? And I just think that these guys look as though they were beaten. You have a look, they were walking around the pitch yesterday. They weren't trying to make a difference. They were walking around the pitch. You have a look at Paulinho, you have a look at Xavi, you have a look at Odebert. When we had the ball, which wasn't very often, there wasn't a real go at trying to make a run behind their back four. It was on walking, and actually the player with the ball had no one to pass to. So that mentality has got to stop, and the manager's got to be able to impart that and see that happen, or else get the guys out that have good enough players. But we can make them better for a period of time.
And I think that's something that I'm interested in, right? Because I'll get there in a minute. The coaches, there we go. It's a really hard word to remember. The coaches did take players, championship players in some instances, at Brentford and make them better. And they were a cohesive team that played for each other, and you could see exactly what they were trying to do, and they knew what they were trying to do. So I don't understand with better, in theory, better quality players, why they've not been able to. I don't see any. I don't think we're playing PSG this week, right? We'll talk about that next. I don't think we're better than when we played PSG last, and that was in August. I don't think we've improved at all. I think if anything, we've regressed. I think we look worse.
It comes back to my original point, Graeme, either on a podcast or just you and I were talking. Is there a danger when we appointed Frank, and I said this, not because I dislike the guy, is there a danger that it's a Graham Potter at Brighton scenario, where the reason he's good is because of what he's got around him, the club he's at, very, very similar to, or you could label the same with Ten Hag at Ajax, right? They were very, very good. He got the Man United job. Yeah, he won him a couple of things, but he wasn't great. So do you feel that the job's not?
It's like the perfect storm. It's like it's all the components, and it's like when probably similar to what you're saying. Like sometimes when Brighton sell players, they look
don't
shit
even see because of how well done they are and the setup they have.
Yeah, the whole the whole thing. Right? It's the sum of the parts rather than the individuals. Yeah, I just don't see any sign of that at the moment. But maybe he needs more time, and this season feels like it's going to be. We're not going to do very much. Maybe we can have a run in the FA Cup, but could get a lucky run.
We're unbeaten in Champions League, right? Take it for what it's worth. We haven't been great in some games, but we are unbeaten. So
we were unbeaten away till yesterday as well.
Sure.
It's going to be one of them weeks, isn't it?
You would hope that we might not finish top 8 Champions League, but you would hope we would drop into that playoff to give us something to play for. I don't think we're just going out the Champions League, in my view, and I'm sure this will come back to haunt me. Maybe we will. But I think we can have I dare say, a bit of fun in that and get to the knockout in some way, shape or form. But yeah, it's a worry in terms of, but then he's got no Kulusevski, no Solanke. as far as attacking options. Solanke is a very important player to how Spurs play. Not just how Frank plays, but how Spurs play in terms of bringing others into the game. I think Xavi and Solanke could really work well together. We've just not had the opportunity to see it. We've not seen Kulusevski under Frank either, right? And I think he can be integral. But again, to your point, Graham, yesterday when you were messaging me, will we see that? Will he get the time? If those results go the way that we'd hope they don't, will they pull the trigger? I hope not. I don't want to see another change. I really don't.
Who would it be? That's the thing. We always ask. Always with Spurs, they don't seem to have a plan B. Most clubs, I think, have a plan B. I think Man City have got a plan B for when Pep goes. Don't know who it is, but they will have someone.
They must have, they've got a short
We don't
list
have a plan B. We have this waiting period where heaps of people are linked to then turn us down. And I don't know. Was Frank the first choice when Ange left? I don't know.
See, the other thing about Frank is he managed a side that didn't play in the Champions League, right? So this is his first, going back to the segue into the Paris game, right? So
no Europe whatsoever. He's never managed. No
Europe whatsoever. So he was at a club where the only thing he had to focus on was the domestic leagues and the cups, and in a club that was possibly accepting of the number of losses they were going to get, and he just made that number slightly less than the expectation of the supporters, right? Which meant that they finished mid to lower table and therefore weren't relegated. In a club like Tottenham, our expectations are that not only do we progress up the table, but we do it in a stylish sort of way, and we actually push somewhere near the semis, the quarters, the semis, and the finals of the cup competitions. And I don't really think he was put under that type of pressure at Brentford. So when you start thinking about the other managers in the Premiership who's got Premiership experience, like Iriola and Glasner, bringing them in could actually have the same effect. Really good guys in the clubs that they're at, but when they transfer all of that knowledge into the Tottenham engine, it doesn't quite play out in the same way. And that's the same with a lot of the foreign guys. So I don't actually think that the Mourinho and the Contes of the world were such a bad idea. You'd bring in a proven winner at the highest level. But you're right. I mean, Xavi Hernandez, maybe. But at the end of the day, you can't keep blaming the managers. You've also got to have the squad of players. And we don't have that.
I'm quite interested to see with Paratici back what January will look like. I think January will be like we'll be buying the Juventus reserves again.
You know what the Paratici Langer reminds me of is
the odd couple.
Liverpool. Well, Liverpool when they had Roy Evans and they went they had a joint manager. Remember that? Who was it? It was Roy Evans and somebody else. Was it Houllier?
Oh,
but it didn't work.
Ronnie Moran, was it?
No, there was joint managers, and I can't remember. I'll look it up. Anyway, the point I'm making is it won't work. You can't
We did it. We did it as well, right?
We did. Yes, we did. It was that Doug Livermore and
was it Shreves or
Shreves? No, Peter Shreves, Doug Livermore. But it seldom works. Across any business, any role. If someone was to be hired in the position I have at work, and they said you're doing a joint role with XYZ now, piss off. It's not going to work. He's got his ideas, I've got mine. I don't see Johan Langer and Paratici. I reckon by March, April, there'll be one guy left. I just don't see it working.
Well, it happened previously when Paratici came in before, didn't it?
And out of the two, I'd rather Paratici, just to be clear. Even if his checkered past, he's got some absolute gems up his sleeve somehow.
Yeah, I don't want to know how he's getting the players, but I want him to get the players.
Correct. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how you're doing it. It's like fell off the back of a lorry. Yeah.
As long as we got plausible deniability, we're all good.
Yeah. No, indeed.
Can I just add something to this, back to the FA Cup and semi-final? Hey, I take the Cups. There shouldn't be any expectations there. Imagine if we got Chelsea or Arsenal or even Man City away in the first round. It's the end off.
Yeah. And it can happen. Yeah, it's happened. Yeah.
We're not going to get minnows and work our way up in the Cup run. We could get...
But on that point, Hamish, even when we get minnows, we tend to make hard work of it. Was it Newport? We had a bloody replay to get past them.
Yeah.
I was at that replay. Bloody freezing it was.
That's never a gimme either.
No.
I mean, don't even get me started. I mean, I'm looking at above me, I've got when we won it in 81, and then over there that needs to be put up is Gascoigne's free kick against Arsenal. It's been too long, right? I want to update my pictures in my office of us actually winning the FA Cup or doing some damage in it. But talking of doing some damage, we pivot to PSG away. I mean, Graham, do you think another damaging defeat? Or do you see us miraculously getting something? I think we're going to get absolutely pumped.
I think we obviously we played them in the Super Cup final and we played very well. But we also were playing PSG, who basically were pre-season, more pre-season than we were. They played in the Super Cup and then not played football until they played us, basically.
Yeah.
So I think that that was not them at their best, and they've now had a good dozen games or so. They'll be in top gear. I think they're doing very well I think they're generally doing well in the league and in the cup as well. It's going to be a tough match. I think we'll set up that. This is my worries that now I think what we saw yesterday is pretty much the blueprint for tomorrow, because he even said we wanted to play like the way we did against PSG. So for me, it probably means that we'll do the same thing. And my worry is if we can't create chances against Arsenal, we're certainly not going to do it against PSG. So I'm worried that it's going to be a very similar game with very little output up front for us.
I just remember those last 10 minutes against PSG in the summer, right? When it looked as though PSG just went into second gear. They had the runners down the wing, they had runners down the middle, and they just attacked us like a Panzer division and took us apart in 10 minutes. I'm imagining that for the whole game.
Yeah, I think the last 10 minutes we'd made a lot of substitutions, and I felt like the quality of the players on the pitch dropped significantly. I think you mentioned earlier about like Arsenal going out and buying the best and the second best player in the position. Well, I think that's that's basically raising the ceiling, but also raising the floor. The drop is never as significant. Like sometimes when we have subs, if we've got no Solanke and we've got Richarlison's not been playing well. He scored a couple of goals, and his overall contribution isn't great. And so there are other players where we bring people in and there's a massive drop off. So I think that could be a problem for us as well. Also,
let's not forget Moani isn't in the squad, right? Or is he in the squad?
He is.
Sorry, Tell is, and Moani, yeah. So Moani will probably play.
I'm wondering whether he'll start, given that Richarlison started the North London derby.
You'd expect he probably would. Yeah.
But, I know Frank was saying we wanted to play against like we played PSG. No disrespect, the PSG game was a glorified friendly in a lot of ways. I know there was a cup to it. But, if he's harking back to how he played in a pre-season game as how we're going to play against our biggest rivals, does he? Yeah, I don't know. I actually wonder if he'll sort of rest quite a few players for the PSG game and focus on Fulham.
He might do.
Yeah.
I mean, he might well do.
We don't have the squad to play. I don't think Richarlison can play 3 games in a row. I honestly don't think he can.
He'd break down. Yeah.
Well, he probably plays for about 10 minutes of those 3 games.
Yeah. Well, I think the crying shame also about the weekend was, and this is it's slightly unfair, was Richarlison's goal against Arsenal was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was brilliant. It was opportunistic, and it was the only time we got past their back four. But it was a fantastic goal. We haven't even spoken about that.
Yeah.
What a great win by Paulinho. And then,
Paulinho did really well to win the ball back. But where was that though, Richard? This is my whole thing. Where was that snap and bite throughout the game?
No.
3-0 down by the time that we started doing that, right?
Yeah.
To go back to H's point, at the end of the day, if we've got to rely on that, which we possibly won't get against PSG, then we ain't going to score against PSG. So I think we've got to be cleverer. I think he'll play Odegaard because some of these guys are more used to playing continental football than we think. And I think he'll play Moani up front because Richarlison just can't do it.
Yeah.
So I do fear for the fact that this hole in the middle has got to be plugged somehow. And I think he'll be a brave man if he puts in a Sarr or a Bergvall, but that's what I would do. I don't think Bentancur at the moment is doing the business. And you got to bear in mind, he got a yellow card in Uruguay, followed by a straight red, followed by a yellow card.
Yeah, so against America, wasn't it? Yeah, he played the US, yeah.
He's obviously off the pace somehow or not concentrating or whatever. So just give him a break and let someone else play. So I kind of agree. I think he'll mix it up a little bit more, but you need someone in the middle just to stop these guys running straight at you.
The other positive you could think is, hey, with all the media there's been about how bad we were against Arsenal, the players actually pick themselves up and actually have a blinder. You could look at it like that, but
I hope so, but I think we've been here before.
Yeah. Well, The other thing is we've heard nothing about Archie Gray.
Has
Yeah.
he been injured or is he fit?
He was, but he's been available to be selected for the past 2 or 3 games, and we've
And
just heard
the
nothing.
interesting one with him is when we signed him, it was well documented that Frank and Brentford wanted him,
Yeah,
and he's not been using him.
yeah. So I
To
don't
be
know
honest, he couldn't have done a worse job at right back than Spence, could he, yesterday?
Absolutely. So I don't know where they see him fitting in. And to go back to the point of changing the midfield, it wouldn't be such a daft idea to stick him in there.
Mm. Get your foot on the ball
I
and
sadly think with Gray, that was a levy buy for full potential. Hey, let's play him for 2 or 3 seasons. We paid 40 for him. He'll be England captain. We'll get 80 or 100 for him. That's honestly what I think why we signed Gray.
I wouldn't disagree.
We didn't need him at the time.
But he was a complete bonus in the sense of all the injuries that occurred under Ange. Got a lot more minutes.
Totally.
Yeah.
But he wasn't a player that came straight in and was going to change the team around.
Well, both him and Bergvall were not supposed to play 50 matches last season, right? They were probably supposed to play a dozen or something like that, and spend a lot of time on the bench and learn their trade. But we obviously didn't have that luxury.
We've also got one other game to cover, but before we do that, in terms of preview, I'll go around the room. PSG, a prediction. I think they're losing 3-0. I can't see anything beyond a defeat. Graham?
3-1, yeah.
3-1.
Yeah,
Hamish?
I think someone's going to score from the halfway line again.
There you go. Yeah. Hamish, any score?
I'll go we play well, but we lose 2-1.
There you go. Richard?
Yeah, 3-1 sounds about right. I just can't see our defence keeping them out.
Nah. And I can't see us creating a whole lot.
We were one of the highest scorers about 4 matches ago in the leagues, but we've lost that spark up front. But I do think we'll get a goal somewhere.
Yeah, somehow. Well, game I'm actually, in many ways, not more concerned by, but it's a tricky one. The next one following is Fulham at home, but an 8 p.m. Saturday night kickoff.
I really hate those games.
7 a.m. for me, 9 a.m. for New Zealand. But for you, Graham, it's Saturday night. That was never when you'd go watch the football. That's sacred. That's out with the missus for dinner.
Well, it's basic. You have to leave mid-afternoon to go there, and then I don't get home till gone midnight. It's crap. Yeah.
Are you going? Are you going to utilise?
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah, you're going to. Who are you taking? Have you got any victims?
I don't know. I don't know yet. I don't know if I can persuade anyone to go with me at the moment. It's not.
Just
it's
on
not
those
easy.
Team kickoffs.
It's really weird as well. And I've said it before. Like the number of people the season ticket seats around me, hardly anyone is going to games. They're like they're all being resold. So it's like a completely fresh set of faces every week. And I expect it will probably be fairly similar on Saturday. Because again, just a quick bit about Fulham, right? Fulham's last 6 away games are 5 losses and a draw. And they've scored
Dr.
4.
Tottenham will see. Dr. Tottenham.
Exactly. Scored 4, conceded 13. That's got Dr. Tottenham written all over it.
Yeah. Hamish, you were going to say something on the 8 p.m. kickoff, mate?
Those 8 p.m. kickoff games, I was in London and went to the Wolves game. Now, that kickoff time changed 3 times. I was in New Zealand trying to coordinate a holiday around it and ended up going. But I could just tell the atmosphere was not. I was at the West Ham away game 2 weeks before. That had, believe it or not, a better Spurs atmosphere than the home game did.
Yeah.
Always, yeah.
Wolves. I felt for the Wolves fans having to head home if they got home that night. Probably had to stay over in London.
There's another. We've got the Newcastle game that's coming up. Is the away game? That's an 8:15 p.m. kickoff. Week, I think. Is it midweek?
Yeah, midweek, yes. I think it's a Tuesday or Wednesday night.
Yeah,
But
basically there is no train. There's no train home, so you either drive in or you're staying over.
Yeah.
The other worry of Fulham is Silva is under so much pressure. I think he's one of the favourites for the next manager to go, because they've had such a bad run. And, he's going to be up for it. He was linked with so many jobs over the summer. And
Ryan Sessegnon, a couple of goals then, Graham, is what we're saying.
Well, he scored against us last time we played him, right? Last season.
Yeah.
I think that's the game when I was in Dubai, I think.
They've got the equivalent of an up-and-coming Eze or Semenyo in Iwobi, right? So I said to the guys 2 seasons ago, 3 guys that we should be tracking and trying to get are Iwobi, Semenyo and Eze, or in any one of those combinations. And Iwobi, I think, is in that mould. He needs a haircut, but apart from that, he's all right.
But Rich, do they fit into our team? Like, everyone's going, we need Semenyo from Bournemouth and that. He might get to us and get completely lost. It's just...
Well, like Xavi, you mean? Xavi Simmons?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Xavi, who's looking more and more like David Luiz with his hair. He needs to sort that out. But no, I hear you on Semenyo, Hamish.
Yeah.
I think the two things I have in favour of signing him and just breaking the bank is he's a starter. He just slots straight in. He's also from Ghana, and so's Kudus, and they're pretty good mates. So I wonder if that will help him settle if we were to sign him. But yeah, you're right. I get it. Like your concerns, and will he fit in? Is he good in that Bournemouth team? Is he a big fish in a small pond? But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what.
Well, on Fulham, I remember talking to someone who was a Fulham fan when we signed Session, who said he is going to be well out of his depth at your club. And he was kind of right. I know he had all the injury, but when he played for us, he didn't do anything. He's gone back to Fulham. Yeah. He actually looks like a good player.
Looks like a good player again, yeah.
So the other thing I saw in the press today that we're linked with Samu Agahoa. I think he's a Porto striker. So I messaged Joao, my friend in Lisbon, and I said, "You've obviously seen him play a few times. What do you think?" He said he's got huge potential, but he's not there yet, which sounds like a perfect Tottenham signing to me.
We'll buy him.
But again, going back, I think I touched on this before, but Ivan Toney on a loan, 6 months, makes the most sense, right? In terms of Premier
For
League
tax purposes,
player,
it does.
Your goals, play with Frank. I know his character is questionable, but we need someone to slot in, and I think he'd probably do that. And that
we just need someone to score some goals, hey?
Yeah. Sensible business.
It's Sandra Redknapp would do, anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, indeed. It's always tricky to put a prediction on a game which comes after another game. I actually think we'll beat Fulham, and I don't know it'll be pretty. I think it's going to come out of just pure desperation. We have not won a home game in the league. What is it? August? It must be, right?
Since
Ages.
Burnley, isn't it?
I think it's just going to be pure desperation that we get it done. I think like a 2-1 or something. But again, I don't know what's going to happen PSG injury-wise, players available. But Graham, you think it's going to be a draw? Another draw?
I can't put myself through another one. I think we might win it. I think it might be, it'll be tight. Maybe 1-0, 2-1, something like that. It's not going to be an easy watch, I don't think. No. I just don't think... We're going to play 2 games where we'll probably play 3 at the back with some kind of weird formation, and then we'll switch back for that game, and then they'll all look like they've never played football before.
Yeah. Hamish?
Here's my prediction. We'll win 2-1. Polini will score the winner. He's already on a yellow card. We'll take his shirt off and get a red.
Yeah, there you go. Close us out, Richard. Bring us home, mate. With a
I'm going to end on a bit of optimism. I think from a probability standpoint, we're due a win, so we'll win. I actually go back to the point one of you made around will the players step up? I think they will, because I think we get smacked against PSG. So I'm going to go for a 3-0 win.
Oh, okay. Bloody hell.
I hope so. At least my train journey home would be a bit more enjoyable. And me Sunday.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I don't have a great deal else, Graham. I'll, as always, finish on the note of come on, you Spurs. But over to you to any final thoughts and to close us out, mate.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say thanks to Richard and Hamish for joining us. It was been a pleasure. Thanks to everyone else who listened in. Please like and subscribe to the podcast, tickle the algorithm so we can get in front of more Spurs supporters. And do let us know in the comments what you think of our chances in the 2 up-and-coming matches. And to close us out, come on you Spurs.
Let me be the one that you turn to, someone you can rely on, closer each day.